Okay, Joe, where are you at?
I am on the Olympic Peninsula right now in the state of Washington.
Fantastic. So still on vacation. How many more days do you have?
We fly back, but probably by the time you hear this, I'll either be in the air or in the airport waiting to get home. So we're wrapping it all up. But this is probably the second podcast recorded by a guy on the Olympic Peninsula about the CFL.
What's the first?
I happened to be invited to 2 and Out earlier tonight, so that was the first one.
All right, good on you. Welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast as presented by thegruelingtruth.net. I'm Oz Davis, a writer there at thegruelingtruth.net, and joining me from the Olympic Peninsula is fellow gruelingtruth.net writer Joe Pritchard. Joe, how has your vacation been?
It's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm setting records left and right by recording this podcast not where I normally do.
Setting records. I don't know what sort of record book you think you're in, Joe, but it's an obscure one.
No, I have to inflate my ego somehow, right?
the CFL podcasting Book of World Records. It's a pamphlet. It's a very small book, Joe. But you did have time on the vacation to watch plenty of CFL football, so you're ready to talk last week and you're ready to talk this week.
Yep, I am caught up enough so that I will be saying intelligent things, which for me is sometimes hard to do even when I catch every second of every play.
All right, let's go right into it. Let's talk last week. Last week, the week of blowouts in the CFL. How surprised were you by this? Is this just a number? You're a statistics guy. Is this just the numbers balancing out after so many close weeks through the season? Or do you have any general impressions on the week of blowouts?
I was hoping for closer games, especially the one I attended 2,000 miles at least from my home, but you'll take what you can get.
Right. Well, I mean, you did see some interesting things in that game, which we'll talk about momentarily. Saw some pretty interesting things in Montreal Alouettes 43, Ottawa Redblacks 19. In my personal opinion, I don't think the Alouettes have looked this good since week one. As the various podcasts that I appear on and the various people that I've talked to know full well, I was very enthusiastic about the Alouettes after week one, watching, Kevin Glenn sort of spread the ball around, find the different targets, even finding guys out of the backfield. And this was the first time that I really thought that he was managing the game in this way. The space in between, I feel like that first week and this week has all been about Deron Carter drawing double coverage and Mr. Glenn and Mr. Cato and our various other quarterbacks sort of flailing about and chucking the ball somewhere downfield while they're, completing yet another 2 and out. But in this game, I liked it. All the pieces were being used. All of the offense was actually clicking, and we were actually able to keep our defense off the field for a little while, which surely worked to our benefit. Your impressions of this game, particularly on the Montreal side?
I did catch most of the first half and a little bit into the second half before I had to head over to BC Place. But my goodness, where has this Montreal team been? It's like a Jekyll and Hyde act. I haven't seen them be nearly this good in quite a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that even the biggest detractors of this team have had to give props to the defense. That defense, which up until last week had been allowing just 16 points a game, and this offense, who aside from week one had been averaging about 2 touchdowns a game in scoring. And again, I think this is the first time. I mean, when you're actually involving guys like Jean-Christophe Beaulieu in positive ways, I mean, this is how a CFL team should look, is like that. And I was just happy to see the pieces come together. Where this team has been for the past, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, is on the drawing board. I feel like it has taken them this long to actually figure this out, how to work with limited options at receiver, how to work when Kevin Glenn's arm strength is not the Kevin Glenn's arm strength of 10 years ago. I think finally this late in the year, they're getting these pieces put together. I can't exactly say that it's coming at a great time, but it is positive for Montreal that as certain other teams in the East, such as Ottawa that they played this week, and Toronto are having trouble finding themselves recently, that the Alouettes are putting together some impressive games here. So positive for them. Is there anything we can say about the Ottawa Red Blacks that isn't made completely irrelevant by the return of Trevor Harris this week?
Well, their defense just hasn't been dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done a lot to impress me over the last little while here. I kind of thought that would be the case coming into the season. I mean, last year they finished 12-6, but they scored 20 more points than they allowed. So the defense, even last year, wasn't great. And I think that's going to come back to bite them if the offense can't get white hot like it was in the first couple weeks of the season. I mean, the offense was outscoring other teams, but defense wasn't beating other teams by themselves. How about that? They really needed the offense to go crazy, and now that the offense isn't, they're getting beat.
Now, this team is still above 500, 4-3-1, and yet they literally have the worst red zone defense in the CFL. So if this is a bend, don't break defense, they're breaking a bit too often. On the other hand, Trevor Harris is going to be able to string together these long drives, let the defense have more focus, let them have less time, on the field. I think this could improve that defense's, at least morale, a little bit, just switching up the quarterback here. Because it seems to me that I don't want to accuse the Red Blacks of quitting on their quarterback, but I get the feeling that they're happier when Trevor is the man.
It just might be a chemistry thing at this point. The receivers might work better under a Trevor Harris offense than a Henry Burris offense. I mean, last year, everything fit together. Maybe the change in the offensive coordinator makes it so that Trevor Harris is better for the offense as it is being called right now, as opposed to last year, where Burris obviously clicked with the Jason Moss offense with these same exact receivers.
Right, exactly. That's the thing that gets me, is that they still have their 1,000-yard guys out there in the receiving corps, and I just don't see them being utilized as options as frequently as last year. Last year it was always who's going to be the guy. This year it's become almost more predictable and more. I don't know. It's just the zip is missing from Burris, and I don't know. You brought this up, I think, last week about Burris's tendency to sort of burn bridges behind him, and I almost feel like that's what's happening now. I feel like he's really burning the connections to this team, which isn't really the greatest move at age 41, but I think it is kind of the way he is. So, one wonders about that. In any case, you've got to believe that Trevor Harris coming back is a big positive for this team going forward. Right. All right, Joe. Next up is Calgary Stampeders 31, BC Lions 9. Now, you were at this game, so why don't you give us the full shebang of your experience? This is the first game you actually have been to at TD Place, am I correct?
Yeah, BC Place, yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So we spent the first couple of days of our vacation up in Vancouver, saw some various sites and all that, but when it came to Friday, we pretty much had worn ourselves out by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we had hunkered down. My phone is actually a brick, unless I have Wi-Fi. It's completely useless, otherwise I'm going to get charged a lot more than is anything when we're close to reasonable. So we had been trying to meet up with Brian from BC Lions Den, but he had changed plans sometime during the day when I hadn't seen it. So we were wiped out at that point and tired of trying to navigate Vancouver. So we ended up just going with the original plan, actually get to see Brian. But I'm sure I'll see him in Toronto. But the fact that we didn't kind of led up to this fantastic thing that happened here. So we headed over to the stadium. We got there about 15 minutes or so before the gates opened. And I walked through and everything that's going on outside the stadium. I'm walking through all that, taking a look, and just kind of getting a feel. Out of the corner of my eye, I do BC Lions President Skalski talking to other people here, and kind of just made a mental note that he was around and pointed out to me. And we went over to buy a T-shirt because I wanted to have some sort of souvenir for this. And as we're getting that T-shirt, who would happen to walk behind me but him and stand behind me? So we turned around and had a little bit of small talk. I mentioned where I was from and thought, let's get you down on the field for pregame warm-ups.
Oh, wow.
So he goes off, and 15 minutes later he comes back with some wristbands for us to go down there. Actually personally escorted us down an elevator, and we pop out of the elevator, and there's John Hufnagel standing there. So by this point I'm feeling a little bit bold and just said hi to him as we walked by. He was probably in game mode. I don't think he even noticed me at this point.
Yeah.
But then we were walked right up the tunnel, pointed to we had to pick either sideline, and we got to go. We actually ended up picking the side that ended up being the Calgary sideline. But we got to go see the BC Lions warm up and the field Calgary warm up, and got some fantastic pictures. It was just one of those random fantastic things that seems to happen to me when I devote myself to this league. Wow.
Fantastic. Wow. That's the CFL experience. You've got to like that. We've talked about this before. Other, Americans talk to me about this. It's just incredible how close the players, the executives are to the fans in the CFL. It's like 0 degrees of separation. You can walk up to these guys and talk to them. They will do things for you just because they're happy for your enthusiasm for the game and such. Fantastic, Joe. That's great. When are we going to see some of these pictures? Can we run them on the Grueling Truth?
At some point here when I get home, I'll get them sent over and maybe bring up the experience a little bit.
Fantastic. Yeah, so something to look for at thegruelingtruth.net. Okay, so tell me, how was the fan experience? What sort of attendance was there? Did the fans seem knowledgeable? Did they seem like they were into it, even though the team may not have been so much in this game, et cetera, et cetera? Was there palpable excitement, et cetera, et cetera? How was that for you?
Well, we were way up about as high as we can get in the end zone because I felt like being cheap. Actually, any seats between on the sidelines whatsoever were just about the same price. So there was really nothing available between the 30s, and the further out you got, I didn't feel like spending that money. So I figured if I wasn't going to spend that money and I wasn't going to find anything decent between the 30s, I'd just keep going until I found somewhere where I could have a straight look at the field instead of being in a corner, because I just hate that so badly. But we ended up having some pretty good seats. I mean, it was a bit far from the action, but I could see everything. Fans really didn't get into the game much at all, just simply because Calgary had it from the get-go. The biggest roar came after the first play where Jason Racki set the special teams tackles record. After that, the place was just still and dead. Really not much you could blame the fans for, though, because the team didn't get much to root for either. Probably my eye said about 18,000. They announced 21. It was a rather hot night out in Vancouver, but I was a little bit disappointed given the magnitude of the game at that point. But it's about what we've been told to expect, and unfortunately, it's not a happening thing to be doing in Vancouver these days.
Yeah. Is the location as legendarily bad as we've been told? I mean, was it a real? Can you understand how problematic it is to get out there?
We came from North Vancouver early in the day, went out to the Stanley Park area, which is right across the big bridge. So it's the west side of Vancouver. We got down to Granville Island during the day, and we came from Granville Island up through BC, up almost. We parked literally 2 blocks away from the place and spent less than I would spend at a Milwaukee brewery at the park. So, mind you, I don't work downtown. I don't know what it's like coming from other places. But we really didn't have that much difficulty. We didn't have access to a GPS. We just had the standard map. But one of the main drags through the city, Georgia Street, goes right to it. So it's just, if you're coming from the city, it's tough to drive through downtown anywhere. But that was about it. It was just garden variety tough because it was downtown. Now, I don't know what it would be like coming from the east or the south or even the north, but coming from the city itself, we didn't have much of a problem. We also had all the time in the world because we left Granville Island at 3 o'clock. So, mind you, leaving at 5 o'clock from the western part of Vancouver to try to make a 7 o'clock game, or trying to get home and then out there, well, maybe not so easy.
Yeah. So you can kind of sympathize, at least for the downtown folks. Wanted to talk a little bit about this game. I mean, as you implied earlier, this was all Calgary all the time. And I think it's been interesting. I've noticed since this game that only now are we actually mentioning the fact that Calgary hasn't lost since week 1, folks. This is a pretty decent team this year, I guess. This game sort of hammered home that point. But I'm interested in getting your take on the Lions. Can we just chalk this up to an anomaly? Can we just say, another inconsistent show by Jennings? Again, coming out flat in the second half. Is this a show of a greater tendency or just a bad game, just an off week?
I felt like the game went right off their fingertips, to be honest. There were a couple of throws that Jennings made that were fantastic and would have required the receiver to make an above-average catch, maybe closer to sensational, but still balls that would hit guys, fully in at least one palm were not being caught. I remember Jennings threw a rope, like a 6-yard rope, right to Arsenault. Arsenault was falling down, but it went off of his hands. He makes that catch. We're talking about a completely different ball game. So there's really not a lot I wanted to pin on Jennings. They did bring in Lulay when the score got out of hand, just to give take Jennings out of the situation. But I felt like it was the DC defense, and more so even the coaching possibly, that caused a lot of the issues here, because Calgary killed them all day with flat passes. If they ran the same flat pass 3 or 4 times to both sides, and BC had no answers for it whatsoever. They just consistently threw underneath the BC defense. There wasn't a lot I was seeing as far as adjustments. So I really feel like the Calgary offense outcoached the BC defense in this one.
I don't know what's happening with this BC defense. You know, last week we sort of dropped this in that you have to wonder about BC starting to really let off the gas pedal in the second half. In the last 4 games, including the 2 against the Stamps that they've lost, they've been outscored after the first 30 minutes, 79-39. They're giving up 20 points a game in the second half. I think that there's something wrong here. You know, you look at the names and you watch them in the first half of any game, and you say, hey, this is one of your top CFL defenses. And then for some reason in that second half, you know, everything's loose. It's as though Wally is calling off the dogs there in BC, and all of a sudden, you know, the other team's in it. You know, Calgary made that stupendous comeback a couple of weeks ago against them, but they're letting teams stay in these games in the second half, and I just do not understand why. I guess I'm just going to have to chalk it all up to halftime adjustments and lack thereof.
Yeah, we'll have to see about how it goes forward here.
Yeah,
but I wasn't impressed with BC's inability to adjust to what Calgary was doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Calgary did. Calgary came out and, you know, had three nice drives, 3 nice scores in that second half, and that's all they needed. You know, it was just fantastic. And I would note that the Calgary offensive line pitched a shutout in terms of sacks against the Lions. Now, this is the team that they had allowed 4 sacks to and 3 sacks to in the previous 2 meetings, and they just shut them out this time. You know, again, completely, especially the defense, completely outplayed here by Calgary.
Yeah,
not a pretty showing. Not a pretty showing.
Right. It was definitely a testament to the coaching job Calgary is doing. I think we could put to rest any thoughts that there would be an issue with the transition between Hupnick and they look like they know what they're doing.
Jeez, if anything, they're better than the last couple of seasons, and they won a Grey Cup 2 years ago. It's just unbelievable. They're at this point with, you know, the Tiger Cats not quite in 5th year yet. At this point, they're the class of the league, and they're standing alone right now for this week. Let's go on. The weird one of the week, probably Edmonton Eskimos 46, Toronto Argonauts 23. I guess once you get past the shock of these particular Eskimos scoring 46 points in a single game, you kind of realize, well, looking at this Toronto defense, you kind of do believe that they would allow 46 points a game. Can anything at this point be done to save the Argonauts, who seem to be in a graveyard spiral at this point?
Yeah, Ricky Ray can come back.
Really? Is that going to be enough at this point? Is that going to do it? I mean, because he's going to have to put up a lot of points, it seems like.
What Ricky Ray will do is to put some long drives together, not turn the ball over,
and make the other team score on fewer chances and fewer advantageous field position opportunities too. Just that will help put the games back closer to balance than what they are now.
I wonder. You know, you just see so little positive out of Toronto these past few weeks. I mean, they're by far the worst special teams unit in the league. I mean, they're giving up almost 30 yards more per game on kickoff returns alone. You know, it's just like, wow, than any other team in the league. I mean, this is just not a good team in certain areas. And again, you know, I'm not sure that this is like a Tiger Cat situation where Collaros comes back and Shazam, you know, this team's a monster again, because Toronto doesn't have this acumen behind them. You know, they were not a monster at any point last season. They were heart attack kids last season, but they were not, you know, a dominant force like Hamilton is. And I don't know. You know, the whisperings now are that this is it for Ricky Ray. Even if Ricky Ray comes back, finishes the season. Toronto somehow squeezes into the playoffs, probably loses in the first round. I mean, what's their short-term future look like? I mean, again, this is a team that looks as though there is no plan in place. They're gonna lose that quarterback onto whom they've pinned all their hopes, and then suddenly, he's not there, and they look like Saskatchewan.
Well, the other thing is Milanovic has been a lot better than some teams. Montreal, Saskatchewan, about being able to develop different quarterbacks. So Milanovic has developed. We've already seen Klaus and Kilgore's young. Who knows if he's going to be able to get together, but I certainly wouldn't write him off quite yet. But you just got Milanovic quarterback to work with, and he'll mold him. And if he's got the ability to play, he's going to be doing really well under Milanovic. So I'm not too scared about that situation yet, even if this is it for Ray. The other positive, too, is the team has a lot more resources to play with now. So they're not going to have to rely on finding import rookies and losing them as free agents as soon as they can. They're going to be with a little bit more stability and structure built to this team too. So I don't see a Saskatchewan situation happening. I don't see a lot of old vets on that team. There's a few, but there's not a lot of old vets there that once they're gone, they're irreplaceable either.
Yeah, only Ricky.
And that's not to say that replacing him will be easy in any way, shape, or form. But if I had to pick one coach in this league where I'd go, okay, sure, we're going to bring in a guy. Who knows how good this guy is? But if I had to rely on one coach the best out of him, I'd pick Milanovic on that front.
Milanovic, yeah. He's produced a number of quarterbacks that are playing in this league right now, to his credit. So yeah, you gotta have faith in you gotta have faith in Milanovic. I'm not sure that I have faith that he can turn Kilgore into quality starting material, but again, like you said, can't write him off just yet. However, a few more weeks of these sort of performances, it'll be a lot easier to write him off. That's for sure. Speaking of Saskatchewan, the week of blowouts ended with the biggest blowout of all. I was surprised at how quickly and thoroughly this one got out of hand. Hamilton Tiger Cats 53, Saskatchewan Roughriders 7. For me, the real key stat of the week is this. In the past 4 games, the Roughriders have been held to 15 points or fewer, and this happened to them last year when they were admittedly not a very good team 4 times all year. It is absolutely mind-boggling how badly the floor has dropped out underneath the Roughriders this season. I mean, on top of the roster stuff and the penalties levied and all this kind of stuff, on top of players retiring before even putting on the Roughriders uniform. I mean, it's just, you look at this team and there's just too many problems. They're not going to – look, this team is not going to gel. Jones's vision is not going to be in place by the end of the season. Don't you think? I mean, I realize I am the apocalyptist. I am the Chicken Little. But what's your feeling here? I mean, this season is less even than we expected.
I have 7-11 with half surge. I don't see that happening now. It seems like Jones, all jokes aside, Jones is season like an extended preseason, bringing players off the roster, trying to find something that works. Just as it's going to be. They're going to just keep doing what they're doing, trying to find people to and then this offseason, they're going to make another plunge. They're going to make a lot of moves here, and they're going to try to bring in some pieces to surround the ones that they decided to keep. Now, as far as the disaster on offense is gone, it's just proof of how very good they've had offensive line. They didn't have to begin with, and they're pretty much that.
I don't know. For me, these problems are big. I mean, we all know that the sort of front office mortgaged the future to win the Grey Cup a few years back. And by mortgage the future, we really mean they shredded the Canadian talent on this team. Even now, the headliners in Canadian talent, guys like Capacati, who, came off just a monster year as the anchor of the Red Blacks defense, is now on second string. Josiah St. John, they jerked this guy around all preseason about his contract, and now he's just getting schooled in every game because he's not ready. He's not ready yet. He's obviously got skills, but he's not ready for this game yet. And you wonder, can anything solve this Canadian talent gap that the Riders have in a hurry? Because that's what needs to happen. Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
I was going to say another off season, maybe even two.
I mean, for me, that's the real problem. All right, so Tiger Cats, on the other hand, looked incredibly impressive. Again, Zach Collaros just, ridiculous. 381 yards, 5 touchdowns. My God, again, 0 turnovers. I mean, what a beast. I mean, the team all of a sudden has risen from the dead or the near dead, has become a monster. This week we get Calgary Hamilton. Are you going to go along with basically everybody else in CFL fandom and say this is a Grey Cup preview?
For that, but I'm not seeing that matchup with Toronto.
I think it's not too soon to say it. These are just predictions. Nobody remembers a week from now. We'll have to next week. We'll finally go back and I think look at our preseason predictions just so we can remind everybody what idiots we are. But people don't remember this stuff, Joe. You can easily make a prediction. I think Calgary and Hamilton are on a collision course.
It seems to be the trend so far, but it's only been a couple weeks with back.
Yep.
It's wide open right now.
Fair enough. Let's take a short break here, and then we'll go on to next week.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Okay, so we're back. We really haven't gone anywhere except traveling forward in time. And we're going to talk about next week's games. No Saturday game this week, but we do have a Sunday game. You like that, Joe? You like that setup, or would you rather have the Saturday game?
I prefer the Saturday.
Yeah, I kind of do too a little bit. I kind of do a little bit, but it's going to be nice because on Saturday there's a bunch of NFL preseason, so I can still fill my time that way. All right. Anyway, hey, this is as good as my Rams are going to look, man. Preseason. I'm going to have to watch.
That is true. The preseason is the time for everybody to dream, including Rams.
Right. That's when the losers shine. That's when the Lions go 4-0 and stuff. It's a great time of year for a certain swath of NFL fans.
I see shirts around saying Lions 2008 preseason champion.
Preseason champion. I love it. Well, the Rams are already champions because we're on Hard Knocks. In any case, let's get back to CFL football, which is actually happening and heading down the back stretch at this point. We're basically into the second half of the season now. First, we're starting off with BC Lions at Ottawa Redblacks. Heck of a compelling game here. Two teams looking to come back. two teams which should be in the upper tier of the CFL. Ottawa's probably, most likely, 99% going to be bringing back Trevor Harris in this game. What are you looking for in this first matchup, Joe? You're going to be back home by this one, right? So you're actually going to be able to see this one in your own home.
Yep. And I am looking for BC to win this one.
Okay.
I think that they match up pretty well with Ottawa's defense. I think BC's defense can hold down Ottawa enough so that Jennings can get going. And I feel a little bit more comfortable with the way BC's playing last week, notwithstanding, than I do Ottawa, because Ottawa has not been very good at all since Trevor Harris is gone.
Right. And Ottawa, so what is this going to be now? This would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe the 6th change at starting quarterback already this season?
Feels like it anyway.
Yeah, because we had Burris for a little while, then we had Harris, then we went to the third string, then we came back to – okay, so it'll be the 5th switch for this game. Now, on the other hand, what about this? Trevor Harris has the Caleros-like comeback where first half, shaky, second half, ready to play. And we've seen that the BC Lions defense is not ready to play in the second half. You don't think Trevor will be awake enough for that final 30 minutes to make the comeback?
Well, I think they'll make it compelling. I just have more faith in BC's defense than I do Ottawa's.
Yeah, I'm going with BC on this game, too. I think as the hours tick closer to actual game time, I'm liking BC less and less and less. But I think I'll stick with the Lions. The only team that's really been able to consistently beat BC this season is Calgary, and they don't have to play them anymore. So I'll take BC in this one. I figure they're going to roll. Okay, here is, for purposes of this podcast, the key game of the week, Joe. Winnipeg Blue Bombers coming off the bye at Montreal Alouettes, coming off of their most impressive win of the season. Thoughts?
I don't think Montreal has it in them to do that 2 weeks in a row.
Come on. Is it just because they're playing at home?
I also have faith in Winnipeg continuing that role. I have less faith in Montreal starting a role, so I'm definitely going Bombers this one.
I'll take the Bombers in this one too. I wanted to ask you a question as a fan of the team. Okay, so during the bye week, one of the things that the Blue Bombers wanted to achieve is to get this, quite frankly, astounding number of injured players back into the lineup for the Montreal game. However, just came out today via Twitter, one of the beat writers reported that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys who might have been playing this week will not. I've got Chris Randall, Macho Harris, Julian Posey, Weston Dressler, of course, Ryan Smith, of course, Jeff Keeping, and Patty Neufeld. All will not be playing in this game. But my question for you, Joe, is, because I saw this from a Winnipeg paper today as well, should we be in a rush to bring these guys back, considering how well the Bombers have played since the quarterback switch?
I do like the secondary as it is right now, but you definitely got to take a guy like Chris Randall if you can get him. He can shut down one of the receivers of the team. That's definitely something you want to have in the lineup. You also want to have the talents of Dressler and Smith in there as well. There's other players that could definitely contribute on that list you gave too, so it's a nice thing to have all this talent around and available. That's called depth. I don't know if the Bombers have had that for quite some time, but I'll definitely take it if it's there.
Now, don't you want most of these guys back for the back-to-back against Saskatchewan?
Yeah, I mean, if we can get, especially Dressler and Smith, just to drive them nuts, as I'm wearing my bomber hat for the moment, obviously. Even Macho Harris would be nice to have back for that as well, but we'll take any bit of it we can get and be happy that we have the depth. Now, the one thing I don't want to see the team do, though, is to take Taylor Loeffler out of the safety position.
How about it?
He's been fantastic his first couple weeks back there. I know Macho Harris coming back will add questions to that whole mix, but I like the fact that they have a Canadian in the secondary. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of the offensive line to have three. So I will take it if I can get it.
Wow. Yeah, it's a Canadian, and what was he, a second-round pick this year in the draft? I mean, awesome to see them getting such good dividends off of this pick so quickly. I mean, really.
Draft pick paying off. I don't think that's happened in a while either, has it?
Yeah, and I mean, really, you guys could claim one of the steals of the CSL draft this year, and I don't know how far back you'd have to go to make that claim, because I mean, that was quite a draw. Loeffler was quite a draw, and he's done really well for them. You gotta love that. So yeah, maybe let him continue to play for a little bit longer before we rush Macho Harris back into action. But yeah, I'll concur. I'll go Winnipeg as well. All right, Game 3, Saskatchewan Roughriders at Edmonton Eskimos. I don't have a heck of a lot to say because the Riders have gone from one of the most I don't know how you would say it, must-watch teams, I think, at the beginning of the year to just a sad, sorry disappointment. I guess I feel worst about Naaman Roosevelt, who, by all accounts, would be having a monster year in almost any other team. But I feel like he's just being wasted this season there in Saskatchewan. And as bad as Edmonton is playing, and this is fantastic, can you recall a 3-game winning streak where the winning team has looked as bad as Edmonton has? My God, they've looked bad, and they've won 3 in a row. It's just unbelievable. And I think that trend continues. I think this week Edmonton looks bad and wins again.
Right. I don't even think they look bad. Think about what their defense has done the last couple of weeks. I mean, everybody was all over the defense early. They weren't playing very well. But the last couple of weeks, they haven't given up a lot of points. And if that continues, they could make a run in the West, too.
I think they've still got a lot of issues to work out. I mean, the truth is when you're giving up 3 sacks to a low pressure defense like Toronto, I mean there's questions there. There's things need to be answered here. I still have not much faith in this Edmonton as a team this year yet. I think they're still feeling the effects of that off season. And as far as like the defense looking good, yes, but the competition in these past 3 or 4 weeks has not been outstanding. So I wouldn't even give them that much credit either. They appear to be a passable defense at this point, which is more than I was willing to say like 3-4 weeks ago, but I'm certainly not enamored with what's happening in Edmonton at all. I really don't like what's happening there, and I think once their schedule starts getting a bit tougher, I think they're going to settle back down to 500, sub 500 level again. To be honest, I mean this is just not a good-looking team out there, in my opinion. Game of the week. Game of the week is last. Game of the week is the Sunday game. Hamilton Tiger Cats at Calgary Stampeders. Wow. It seems like every week Calgary has a tough draw. Okay. This could be the only one we might disagree on. What are you thinking?
So what I'm thinking for this game is I think that Calgary is the most consistent team in the league, and they're the toughest team to knock out their game. I do like Hamilton having Collaros back for obvious reasons, and we'll see what he can do against against a defense as stellar as Calgary's. But if you're really gonna twist my arm on this one and make me pick this one, I'm taking Calgary.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay. I thought we might get some disagreement here. Yeah, I think Calgary wins. This could be a heck of a game. But again, I got to say it again. Calgary hasn't lost since week 1. I can't really get off this horse. I mean, literally, I can't get off the horse in Calgary. Just looking at just the past 2 weeks. I mean, okay, this last week, ostensibly they're playing at least the second best team in the CFL to this point. They made it look easy. The week before that, they played terribly. They still won. So it's like I don't know who can play ball with this team this year, but I don't know that it's going to be the Hamilton Tiger Cats this week. So like I say, I'm just not getting off the horse. I'm going to stick with my with Calgary here, with the Stampeders. Now, all 4 agreements. Kind of a bummer, but you can't talk me into Saskatchewan, or Montreal. So I'm afraid we're going to have to agree this week, Joe. Right then. Okay. So you're on the road tomorrow. Do you just have to go right back into work? Do you just have to go right back into the grind?
One day on Friday, and then I get another next weekend.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah, 1 day of work, that's no problem. You're going to spend most of your time going, hey, how's it going? Yeah, vacation was great. So.
Yep, and then 1 full week, and then Labor Day. How about that?
You planned this. It's almost like you planned this.
It's almost like I did.
Well, nice job, Joe. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you participating in the show from Washington State, far afield from home, taking time off for your vacation to contribute to the podcast and the grillingtruth.net. So we thank you for that, Joe.
It's been fun, as usual.
Yeah, all right, great. All right, then. Next week, business as usual. And for this week, we'll sign off. This is Oz Davis coming to you from the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast as presented by the grillingtruth.net. For my co-host, Joe Pritchard, we are out of here. We will talk to you next week. Enjoy the game.